I was talking to my trainer the other day. We were working out in my backyard, and he was wearing my out, man. And I sat down on the wall, and I said, man, I'm struggling today. This is hard. And my trainer's a younger guy. And he said, what do you mean? I said, man, this workout is hard. He said, no, man, this is hard. He said, how you came from a poor kid in the projects to this house you got in this neighborhood and the TV star, he said, that's hard. And I had to catch myself, because working out ain't near as hard as the struggle to get where you want. And everybody in this room wants two things. Everybody wants to be successful, and everybody wants to be happy. I'm gonna tell you something about that happiness and success is available for every last one of you. But I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna have to do. You gotta change your mindset. If you're planning on being successful, you have to change this here. The difference between successful people and non-successful people is right here. It ain't no difference. It ain't none. I ain't got no more than none of y'all got. God gave me the same thing he gave y'all. God loved me the same as he loved all y'all. He don't love me more than he loved you. But you have got to change your mindset. You got to get funky if you want to be successful. If you think that they're going to mail this money to your house, you're dead wrong about that. If you think they're going to pave the way for you and make it easy, you're dead wrong about that. If you want to be successful, you got to change your mind, and you're going to have some faith. If you ain't got no faith, if you ain't got no relationship with God, you finna make this thing way harder than it's got to be. And I'm flat out tell you that right now.
When a negative thought comes, erase it and replace it. It's not enough to just not think negative, because once you dismiss it, once you make that decision, I'm not dwelling on that. I'm not letting that worry in. That's good. The problem is, it'll come back in a few seconds. Once you erase the negative, replace it with a positive thought. Don't leave your mind empty. The thought comes, nothing good's in your future. Dismiss it. Don't give it the time of day. Then take the next step. Father, you promised the path of the righteous. My path is getting brighter and brighter. You said my latter days will be better than my former days. When the thoughts come, this problem's too big, the opposition too strong, you'll never get past it. You can let that play and live defeated, discouraged, intimidated, or you can replace it with what God says. Father, you said when the enemy comes against me one way, you would defeat them and cause them to flee 7 different ways. And yes, this may be too big for me, but I know it's not too big for you. Or how about when these never lies come? Lies that tell you you'll never get well, never meet the right person, never get out of debt. Don't let that play in your mind. If you do, you're defeating yourself. That's keeping you from seeing God's favor. Erase it. That's the first step. Not dwelling on that anymore. Then take the next step and replace it. Father, thank you that what you started in my life, you will finish. What I'm up against is not permanent. I know this too shall pass. Breakthroughs are coming. Healing is coming. Freedom is coming. Victory is coming. Get your mind going in the right direction, and your life will go in the right direction. You're going to draw in what you're constantly thinking about. If you're thinking can't do it thoughts, I'm not enough, this problem's too big, you're drawing in defeat. That's making you weaker. Your gifts are being pushed down. Your faith is being diminished. Why don't you try erasing and replacing? How much further will you go? How much happier will you live? How much more of God's favor will you see if you'll guard your mind? If you'll be selective in what you're dwelling on? If you'll keep it stayed on Him?
You think you're going to be successful without God? Let me ask you something, how that's working out for you. I am here to tell you that you can come from nothing and become something. But you're going to have God. Now, you can come up with another way, but there ain't a book out there on the market how to make it without God. It's 1,000 books about faith and how to make it with God. You're not going to make it without it. You can short circuit your ticket by just putting some faith in God. The two most important days of your life is the day you're born and the day you discover why. All you have to do is uncover this gift that God gave you at birth, the one that he created in every living soul. He never created a person that he didn't give a gift to. All you got to do is uncover that gift that he gave you and start using it. The Bible says your gift will make room for you. Have got to make some decisions in your life. But you got to tie it to this gift. Your gift is the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. That's your God-given gift. He didn't hide it from you. He didn't put it under the rocks. He didn't hide it in the ocean. You don't need no map to find it. God put it right here when he made you. All y'all are gifted at something. The Bible says your gift will make room for you and put you in the presence of great men. That's the scripture. That ain't a theory of mine. See, I ain't got but one gift. I have the ability to take information and transpose it into comedy immediately. I don't even have to think about it. I don't even have to, it's just what I do. I don't practice it. It just come natural to me. You've seen people who open their mouth and they just sing. They can just sing. And I don't care how hard you rehearse, you can't sing like that.
Too many times we're trying to do things only in our own strength, our own intellect, our own ability. That's going to limit us. God can see things that you can't see. He knows the right people who should be in your life. He knows where the danger is, where the dead ends are. God knows how to catapult you into your destiny. You have an advantage. Are you taking time for your daily bread? Sometimes we rush out of the house. I'm in a hurry. I don't have time today, Joel. I got to get to work. I live by this principle. Never meet with other people before you meet with God. If you'll take time to acknowledge God, say, God, I need you today. Lead me, guide me, keep me on the right path. Not only will your day go better, but God will keep you from making mistakes.
The joy and depression cannot reside in the same space. So when you get down and you start thinking about how dark it is, I want you to remember everything your mother taught you that was good. And that replaced all the negative thoughts I was having. Because joy and depression cannot reside in the same space. Well, now, you got to take that concept and apply it to your life. If joy and depression cannot reside in the same place, when you get depressed and you get discouraged, you got to replace it with joy. And what more joyous than gratitude? What has God done for you? Didn't you wake up today? Ain't you still breathing? Don't you have some measure of health? Ain't you working? You may not have the car you want, but don't you have a car? Ain't you eating groceries today? You ain't homeless. Now, when you start tripping and you get depressed, you gotta go into yourself and come up with some gratitude. Once you get grateful, you can't be discouraged and grateful at the same time. You cannot do it.
It's time to do some house cleaning. You need to evict some tenants that have been living in your mind. The good news is you're in charge. They may seem bigger, stronger, more powerful, but you determine what stays in your mind. You need to tell fear, you're evicted. You're not welcome here anymore. I'm not living afraid of what might happen. My future is in God's hands. Nothing can stand against Him. You need to tell worry, you've been with me long enough. Sorry, you've lost your lease. Tell doubt, your time is up. Got some new rules, you have to go. Tell insecurity, sorry, no more place for you. You're out of here. See you, I'm not going to be you. All that negative that's weighing you down, limiting your future. Why don't you serve some eviction notices? Keep your mind positive, hopeful, full of faith, expecting good things, believing to overcome, trusting God to do what only He can do. Here's what I've learned. When your mind is filled with the positive, there's no room for the negative. When you're full of faith, praise, gratitude, believing for the best, when the negative comes, you don't even answer the door. You don't pay it any attention. Fear knocks, but there's a no vacancy sign. Can't they hear me? No, this mind is full of faith. Complaining knocks, discouragement, sorry, no vacancy. This mind is full of praise. Father, thank you for what you've done. Thank you for fighting my battles. Thank you for surrounding me with your favor.
The biggest thing that always troubled me was my imagination. Because it was so big when I was a kid. You know, I grew up poor, but I was always imagining stuff. You know, my mama, once a month, would buy a travel magazine at the grocery store. My father used to be so pissed off. Bill, why we spending this money? We were poor. She said, Slick, we ain't got no money to take this boy nowhere. But if he can look in these magazines, maybe one day, it'll cause him to want to travel. I've been to so many countries around the world because of that magazine. I just wanted to go see stuff. My mama had enough sense to plant that seed in. It's like at Christmas time, we used to get in the car, my daddy used to take us to the suburbs so we could see the lights. And you know, we just drove around the lights. I was amazed at the suburbs because I would see these big houses with horseshoe driveways where you drove in and came out the other side. You know, in the hood, you pull in the yard and you back your ass back out. I did not understand who the hell done made these driveways where you can go in one side and come out the other. So I told my daddy one time we was riding, I said, Daddy, why don't we get one of them houses? He said, boy, I ain't got no money for that, but that's what I'm bringing you out here for. He said, one day you'll be able to get one of them houses. Let me explain something to you. Because of that right there, I've probably had in my lifetime now about 11 homes. I got 4 now in different states. Every house I own got a horseshoe driveway on. If the house ain't got no horseshoe driveway, I don't want it. Because I could not understand why we was backing our ass out this driveway. When they was living, they told me one time, they was sitting up watching TV. My daddy looked at my mama and said, Bill, he called my mama Bill, he said, can you believe that this little boy we had on TV? She said, Slick, I can't believe this. I used to send my daddy $5,000 a week. You know, when I first got on TV, I was making $55,000 a week, so I sent my mom and them $5,000 a week. When I got into Kings of Comedy, my father was still living. I showed my daddy one time how much money I made. He said, boy, it take me 4 years to make this kind of money. So I was able to give them something with my life. I always wanted God to just lift me up, so before my mom and them left this world, I could give them something. I bought them everything, man, houses, cars, furniture. I bought them everything I could think. I tried. And you know what's crazy, man? I'm 62 years old. I still want them. Be proud of me. I'm still hoping that they in heaven watching me. And they see me turn into something. That's all I ever wanted. It was in my imagination to take care of them. Everything that's in your imagination, God gonna make it come true for you. You just got to believe that. God make dreams come true. He take poor kids with speech impediments and put them all over TV. He take drug dealers and turn them into doctors. If God can do that for me, explain to me how he can't do it for you. You just got to believe, man. Don't ever give up and keep believing, because God is real. Don't you listen to nobody telling you God ain't real. They done lost their ever-loving mind. God is more real than anybody I know. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't even be here today.
It's easy to go through life thinking of all the reasons why we can't be successful, why we won't get well, why we'll never meet the right person. We look at our situations in the natural
and think the odds are against us. I talked to a man that struggles with an addiction. He said, Joel, my dad had this same addiction. My grandfather struggled with it. The odds don't look too good for me. But as long as you think the odds are against you, you'll get stuck where you are. You have the most powerful force in the universe breathing in your direction. God has crowned you with favor. He has armed you with strength for every battle. He wouldn't have allowed that difficulty if he wasn't going to turn it around and use it to your advantage. The odds may be against you, but the Most High God is for you. He is a supernatural God. He parts Red Seas. He turns water into wine. He opens the eyes of the blind. Your circumstances may look impossible, but the God who can do the impossible is working behind the scenes, arranging things in your favor, turning negative situations around. Since God is for you, that means the odds are for you. Don't go through life thinking, not me, Joel. I come from the wrong family. The odds are against me. No, turn it around. I've been born into a new family. My Heavenly Father controls the universe. I have royal blood flowing through my veins. When you know the odds are for you, you'll put your shoulders back. You'll carry yourself with confidence. You'll expect to do great things. All through the day, this should be playing in our mind. The odds are for me. I'm destined to accomplish my dreams. I'm destined to overcome this challenge. I'm a child of the Most High God. But don't be surprised when you find yourself in situations where it feels like the odds are against you. You don't see a way out. There aren't any logical solutions. God puts us there on purpose so that when He turns it around, nobody will get the credit except Him. Everyone will know it is the hand of the Lord. When your circumstances seem impossible, instead of being discouraged, God, why me? No, get ready. You're in perfect position for God to show out in your life. He is setting you up to show His favor in amazing ways. That's what happened to a man in the scripture named Gideon. The Midianites and two other armies came against him. They were about to attack the Israelites. Gideon sent word to his men to come and fight. 32,000 warriors showed up. Gideon was feeling good. That was several times more men than his opposition. He liked those odds. But just when he was about to attack, God said, Gideon, you have too many men. If you defeat the Midianites, you'll think you did it in your own strength. He instructed Gideon to let everyone go home that was afraid. 22,000 men left. Gideon nearly passed out. 2/3 of his army went home. He didn't like these odds anymore. When he thought it couldn't get any worse, God said, Gideon, you still have too many. He told him to do something else to eliminate more men. 9,700 men left. Gideon only had 300 men to fight this army of thousands and thousands. These odds seemed impossible. Looked like he would be wiped out. What Gideon didn't realize was God wasn't setting him back, He was setting him up. He was about to show out in his life. Gideon and those 300 men went to the enemy's camp in the middle of the night. They blew their trumpets and let out a loud shout. The Midianites got confused and began to fight among themselves. The Israelites defeated them. They didn't have to lift one finger. They didn't even have to go to battle. It looked like a setback, but the truth was God was setting Gideon up. He was putting him in position to show himself strong. When the odds seem like they're against you, the obstacles look bigger, stronger, more powerful, don't worry. Like Gideon, it is a setup. God is about to make things happen that you could never make happen. He's going to turn that situation around without you having to go to battle. He's going to heal you without the extensive treatment. He's going to promote you without all of the qualifications. Keep the right perspective. The odds are for you. You may feel like the underdog, but you and God are a majority. You don't need everyone to be for you. You don't have to have all the support, the encouragement. You have the one that matters. The Most High God is breathing in your direction.
If you want to kill a big dream, tell it to a small-minded person.
Beware of vision, dream, and passion killers. Family and friends, in most cases, sad to even say this, family and friends in most cases will be the first to try and talk you out of something that you're passionate, excited about, and that you have a vision for.
Who in your life right now comes up with a problem when you try to think through a solution? So when you say, I want to start my own business, I want to do Shopify, I want to do real estate, I want to create an information product, or whatever it is that you want to do, who in your life tells you you're nuts, tells you you're crazy, tells you that you should think through it more to stop being a dreamer, and you're ignoring it?
You're obsessed with what other people think about you. The thing that's going to kill your dream is your addiction to other people's approval.
You don't have to always inform everyone of your next move. You don't have to tell them about your business deals. You don't have to tell them about anything. You should seek assistance in fulfilling your needs by being secretive to a certain extent.
You know, if you don't surround yourself with other dreamers, here's what I know. If 9 of your friends are broke, you're going to be the 10th one. That's it. If 7 of your friends smoke, you're going to be number 8. If you stay with that circle of friends, you've got to surround yourself with like-minded people.
Most of the people that have no dreams will wake up every day trying to talk you out of your dreams. They have no goals. They have nothing that they're ambitious about. So they will talk you out of all the shit that you're excited about. It's really not expected of them to support you and have your back anyway. They life ain't shit, and if you're trying to do something with your life, they're gonna try and figure out a way to shut you and your plans down as well.
And here's the thing I want you to know right now. Most of the time you go, oh, I can handle that negative person, my negative parent or boyfriend or girlfriend or friend or relative. No, you really can't. No, I'm being honest with you, you can't, because I had it my whole life. Even though you fight through it, you know they're wrong. If just 5% of their own insecurities, their lack of confidence to go for what they really want in life, if just 5% of that sticks in your life, it will create you playing small.
Trying to prove people wrong or right about you is a cheap level of motivation, and it will wear out. In other words, it's not the lack of it. It's not the best type. It's the symptom of the same disease. Right. So proving your family wrong or right is a symptom of the same disease, which is you are still obsessed with what other people are thinking about you and not doing things that make you happy, that enrich you, that fulfill your soul. And so the irony about spending your life worrying about what everybody else thinks about you, here's the irony, is that those people will never be thought about after they're dead. So they spend their life obsessing with everyone thinks about them, only to die and have no one ever remember them. Because people that are so obsessed with what other people think about them never really ever fulfill their potential. So once you can drop that addiction, whether it's friends, strangers, or your parents, and you begin to do things that fulfill you, that make you happy, that change other people's lives by your contribution, now you can be remembered. Now your life echoes into eternity, even if it was a quiet life.
Now, Albert Einstein had a quote. He said, imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attractions. This is important information. Now, let me tell you the problem with your imagination. The problem with your imagination is you tell it to the wrong people. Do you know how many times God has showed you something in your imagination that you knew was just for you? You were so excited when it came to you, you went and you shared it with your family and friends. You know what they did? They shot it down. You know why they shot it down? Because they couldn't see it. You know why they couldn't see it? Because God didn't show it to them. He showed it to you. He showed you the evidence of things not seen. See, you got to be careful when you share your imagination with small-minded people. Nobody else can see your imagination but you.
If you just make a decision, it can be sometimes the day that starts you on a brand new journey. Maybe a decision you've postponed, and now you understand the penalty of postponing that decision. You've got to do something, and finally you come to the conclusion, today is the day. I now decide. And whether you decide on a new direction, whether you decide to act when before you haven't acted, deciding can be such an incredibly important, very exciting, inspirational day. So that can be an incredible source of inspiration. Now, if you don't follow through, it's not going to last all that long. If you decide and then, postpone and you decide, but you still don't get to it for a week or a month or a year, soon all that energy and that source of inspiration is all dissipated. So deciding is inspiring, but not for that long. But once you decide, it can be a very powerful day. But now, of course, you must follow through.
Everything I've ever done started with a fear. But the best way for me to overcome fear is the dream has to be bigger than the fear. That's the only way you turn around and run at it. I just want something so great. I aim for stuff so big that the dream is bigger than the fear.
You cannot believe what can happen to your self-esteem. And many of you have already experienced it. I'm just asking you to begin something new in all the areas of your life. I'm asking you to start taking that stuff now that's in your head, that imagination, which is very powerful, and it's a great source of inspiration in itself. But then I'm asking you then to decide, use that inspiration. Then I'm asking you to make plans, begin to make plans, use that inspiration. And then if you take that first step, it can be the first step of an incredible journey. And beginning can be many things. Beginning a new commitment to learning. You say, I'm going to have a library second to none, and I bought the first book of my new library today. I'm going to be surrounded by information and inspiration. I've gotten started. This is just the first of many, many books. This is the first of a whole flow of information for me. This is the first time. Remember that. Beginning is a fantastic source of inspiration. Planning is an incredible source of inspiration. Deciding is an unbelievable source of inspiration. But now beginning only lasts so long. Progress. One of the greatest sources of inspiration is progress. Once you've gotten started, now you proceed, you progress. Now you go to class the second week, you go to class the third week. But it's not only progressing in terms of time, it's progressing in terms of what you're learning, progressing in terms of getting the information that you hadn't discovered before. Now you're excited about that. When you start jogging around the block, and at first it's a little difficult, and then it's 2 blocks, and then you go around 4 or 5 times. But then you notice you're breathing easier. You notice when you go up a flight of stairs, you're not out of breath. And it suddenly occurs to you, in a fairly short period of time, you're making progress. Then when you start making progress in your business, your ability to make contacts, your ability to talk to people. Being so shy, you decided one day, hey, I've had enough with being too shy. I've made the decision, I'm making some plans, I'm going to begin talking to people. And you start, and at first it's difficult. But then, very quickly, and it doesn't take a year, I'm telling you, it doesn't take a month, it doesn't take a week. I promise you, even though you're a little bit shy, if you'll just start to introduce yourself, if you'll just start to talk to someone you've never talked to before, but also understanding that with this new skill now, with this new ability, and with my progress, no telling what I can accomplish.
the confidence to do what they want to do, to sometimes do what they should. And so they come to me and they ask me, how do I become a more confident person? And I would like to share with you quickly 3 ways that you could begin to build into your self-confidence that will allow you to go to a level that a lack of confidence will hold you back and keep. The first thing I would share with you, that if you want to be a confident person, you have to take action. Confidence is a result of something. And so many times people cheat themselves because they lack that confidence, so they don't do what they should do, only to leave saying, I wish I would have done that. I can remember when I was in my 20s, I went to a meeting with leaders that were older than I, wiser, bigger, better, faster. What was I, 27? They probably averaged 45, 50. And I was overwhelmed by the fact that I was truly, not trying to be humble, I was truly the least in the room. And I could have learned so much from them. And in fact, they gave times for us to ask questions, and I held back. And I didn't ask questions, and I left that meeting, and I really realized how I cheated myself. And I determined that I would never let that happen again. Now, why didn't I ask the question? Because I lacked the confidence. I thought, well, it's probably a silly question to them. They probably answered that question 1,000 times. They'll look at me and say, wow, he doesn't remember. And I determined that day that regardless of how intimidated I was going to become, I was never going to cheat myself, and that I was always going to ask the question, even though I figured it may be a real. What was I doing with my confidence? I was making a determination to take action on something that I didn't feel comfortable. And trust me, I did. I never broke that promise to myself, and today I can look back at many times where I just went ahead and did it. I didn't feel comfortable, but I went ahead and did it. And each time I took action, it began to give confidence. The second thing that I have done to build my confidence is to share with others and help them. One of the things I found is that you begin to feel better about yourself when you help other people get better. And so therefore, there's a confidence booster in making yourself invaluable to others because you're always adding value to them. And so I grew my confidence not only in taking actions on things that I perhaps was intimidated with, but I, quote, did it anyway. I grew my confidence by the fact that I began to meet people's needs. And because I met their needs, I began to be valued, and I began to have influence with those people, and all of that process helped me to become a more confident person. The third thing that I did is I spent time with confident people. There's no security like being people. You know it. You know it when you're with them. You know it when you're not with them. You can feel it in the room. A lot of my leadership has been based on the fact that I provide a lot of secure people. They just know. If they hook up with me, if they read my book, if they kind of follow me, if they listen to my lesson, they're going to get better. And that security helps them to become more secure and confident themselves. That's exactly what I did as a young leader. I found people that were confident, and I hung with them. I watched them. I asked them questions. I learned from them. But more than anything else, I immersed myself in the environment of a confident person.
We experience whatever we focus on. So if you're focusing on how things won't work, you're going to feel the pain that you associate to that. You're going to create a tremendous amount of doubt, and then it usually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't get what you want. Let me give you a kind of a simple example. I'd like you to try something. Please listen and please do this. What I want you to do is think of something you really want to have happen in your future. Something you like to have or do or be. And what I'd like you to do is hope that you'll get this to happen in your life. Okay, try it. Think of something you really want in your life, something you really want to have happen, and hope it'll happen. Notice how it feels when you hope it'll happen. You may even notice what you say to yourself when you hope something will happen. Now what I want you to do is get out of that state. Completely get out of that state for a second. And now let's have you think about the same thing you want to have happen in your life, but this time I want you to expect that it will happen. Absolutely, totally expect it. Know it, okay? And when you know it's going to happen, I want you to notice what happens to the pictures in your mind as you think about it. What's different? I want you to notice the difference in your body. Absolutely expect it will happen. You expect this will occur. You absolutely know it. Now, I got a question for you. Is there a difference in how you feel in your body, first of all? And I think you'll find the answer is yes. In addition, is there a difference in even how you visualize these two things in your mind? There are several distinctions that I make usually with confidence.
An essential part of awakening spiritually is going beyond a conceptualized sense of self and living in a conceptual reality. And of course, all that implies being identified with thinking, because concepts are thoughts. So for many people, the question arises, how do I see myself? And there's a very common problem people have, and that's called self-esteem. What value do I have? What value does my life have compared to others. Some years ago, the Dalai Lama was asked by somebody about self-esteem, and he didn't understand the word self-esteem, and somebody, the interpreter, spent several minutes trying to explain to him the meaning of self-esteem, and he just couldn't get it. Now, of course, you might say, well, if I were the Dalai Lama, I wouldn't have a problem with self-esteem either. But that's not it. Self-esteem, in the way in which it's conventionally used, is comparative, and it's always connected to ego. How do I rate myself relative to others, either in achievement, worldly achievement, abilities, knowledge, physical appearance, physical strength, good looks, bad looks, fat, thin, and usually it's related to what you have, possessions, what you can do, abilities, what you know, knowledge, and physical appearance. And that's an interesting thing when you look at your life from that point of view. There's always a sense of unease, because there are always others who are better at least some of these than you are, and then there are others who are worse. I would suggest that the only healthy self-esteem is a self-esteem that is derived from a deeper place than any of those things that usually make up a person's self-esteem.
You can't give away what you don't have. Now, it sounds ridiculous, but it's more than what meets the ear as you hear this. You can't give away what you don't have. People who are not good at giving away love can't give away love because they don't have it to give away. If I want to give you a dozen oranges, I can't give you those dozen oranges unless I go out and pick up 12 oranges someplace. Otherwise, all it is just empty rhetoric. And the same thing is true of virtually everything in your life. You can't give away love for others if you don't have love in here to give away. If what you have in here is contempt, if what you have in here is anger, if what you have in here is fear, then these are the things you're going to be giving away in your life.
Don't allow your emotions to control you. If you don't discipline and contain your emotions, they will use you. Your mind goes on automatic. Weeds don't have to have any encouragement to grow. You don't have to water them. They don't have to get sunshine. They don't have to have fertile ground. They will grow through the cracks of a sidewalk. But if you want to grow orchids or roses or any kind of exotic flowers, there are special processes and procedures you must go through. You don't have to force yourself or motivate yourself to think negatively, to be depressed, to hate somebody, to want revenge, to want to get back at somebody, to beat yourself up over the head, to feel loaded with guilt. You don't have to make any effort to do that. You've got to be willing to harness your will. Your mind is on automatic. It will do that by itself. You've got to find ways to increase your sense of self-appreciation, because if you don't, you're bombarded with negative stuff every day that beats you down, and you will find yourself unconsciously engaged in self-destructive behavior. If you don't program yourself, life will program you.
You got to get grounded. You got to train your mind to serve you. Just make up your mind. This is not going to control you.
You have got to make a declaration. This is what you stand for. You're standing up for your dreams. You're standing up for peace of mind. You're standing up for health. You want it, and you're going to go all out to have it. It's not going to be easy. When you want to change, it's not easy. If it were in fact easy, everybody would do it. But if you're serious, you'll go all out and say, in spite of this, I'm in control here. I'm going to turn this situation around. I'm not going to sit back and moan and cry over what happened and what went wrong and who did what. I'm going to do something about this situation.
Many years ago, I read a book by Terry Cole Whitaker. It was a classic. What you think of me is none of my business. think of the amount of time that is wasted on negative energy, wondering what other people think of you. What they think of you really doesn't make any difference. It's what you think of you that makes a difference. So as you go through the day, don't worry about what other people think of you. Just say, I'm all right. I'm God's highest form of creation.
So what people tell you doesn't matter at all. It's what you stack. It's what you assemble. It's what you create. It's the habit of what you put in your head. And today I don't blame you, because we got a whole culture that's always blaming somebody else for something in their life.
It's truly a scientific fact that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And now you take this tiny little subatomic particle, and you take it and you put it in a particle accelerator, and you rev up the speed of these things and collide them at 250,000 miles per hour. You collide them, you open up the particle accelerator looking for your source, and guess what's in there? Nothing. No thing. That the dot that began you originated from a field of energy that has no boundaries, no beginnings, no ends. It's infinite. It's an infinite potential. And the question that I have for you is, if you can get this, that you didn't begin with that particle, because particles themselves do not create more particles. St. Paul put it this way in the New Testament, that which is seen hath not come from that which doth appear. They talked a little strange in those days, right? What that means is that everything that we see in the material world doesn't originate in the material world. It's the spirit that gives life. The flesh counts for nothing. If the shape of your eye can be in an energy field that has no boundaries, no form, no materialness to it, why not the shape of your life?
You have got to change the way you think. It is the whole determining factor of where you go in life. We are all where we are today because we thought ourselves to this position. If you don't like the position, think yourself out of it. Your brain is divided into two halves, positive and negative, good and evil. It don't function on nothing else. Ain't no neutral ground in your brain. It's either positive and good or negative and evil. Each half of your brain has millions of factory workers on each side. You got 1 million factory workers on the positive side. You got 1 million factory workers on the negative side. At the forefront of each one of those factories in your brain is a foreman. You got foreman positive and you got foreman negative. You are in charge. You're the boss of the factory. Guess what? We are how we think. So now, since your brain is in two halves, let me show you how this works. You wake up in the morning and you say, man, I don't feel myself today. I got up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm not a morning person. Foreman negative hears that. He steps to the front. He said, what did you say? You say, I said I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. I'm not myself. I'm not a morning person. He says, you got it right away. He said, hey, the boss just woke up and said he's not a morning person. He's having a bad day today, and he ain't feeling himself. Let's get to work. The 1 million factory workers start producing thoughts to justify what you just said. So now guess what? Man, I hate my alarm clock went off this morning. I got to get out here in this traffic. I'm gonna drive down here today. I don't even like these people on my job. I can't stand this car I'm finna get in this morning. Sure wish I had a new car, but I'm driving this ragged ass car. And on and on and on. And your day starts tumbling into what you ordered at the top of the day. You can wake up in the morning and you say, you know what? Today is gonna be a great day today. I expect something really good to happen for me today. You said, what did you say? You say, I said I'm having a great day today. I expect something good to happen today. Foreman positive turns around and goes, all right, let me have your attention. Steve's having a great day today. He's expecting some wonderful things to happen. And man, let's get it going. And they start manufacturing thoughts. Same brain. Man, I can't wait to go to work today. It may not be the job I want, but at least I got a job. I'm sure grateful I got a car to drive to work today. Hey man, at least I got a check coming in. I appreciate the fact that I don't have a car, but at least I can walk to the train. Man, this is gonna be great today. That's how your mind works 24/7. It never turns off. Change your attitude, you change your altitude.
It all depends on how you look at it. Our lives are mostly affected by the way we think things are, not the way they are. The way we think they are affects us most. And Shoaff taught me that the mind is like a factory, a mental factory. And whatever you think about all day long pours ingredients into this mental factory. And that's what builds the economic, social, financial fabric of your life. As you think, so you become.